There are 5 types of insurance policies that I would recommend you consider getting if you are in your 20s or if you're singles with no dependents or no children. Without anyone who relies on your income for financial support, then you simply need to focus on ensuring the biggest financial risks that matter to you and in your life. Welcome to my Adulting 101 series on personal finance. I'm building this as a legacy for my kids, but you're more than welcome to join in. If this is your first time to this channel, hi, my name is Dawn, otherwise known as Budget Babe, your favorite finance mama, and I've been writing and talking about personal finance for the last 10 years, so come along and learn with me. Let me just caveat that I am not a licensed insurance agent, so I do not make any money at all whether or not you go out after this video to go and buy any sort of insurance plans. But what I do care about is when people leave themselves uninsured and unprotected against life's biggest financial risks, because that's a surefire way to land yourself in debt and not be able to kickstart your way onto financial freedom. Since I'm not a licensed insurance agent, you should be definitely taking what I share with you today as a guide and not as a hard or fast rule. You should definitely be watching this video with a pinch of salt. Now let's jump straight into it. The first one would be that of personal accident plans. If you're into sports, outdoor activities, or even if you're just living your life, this one is for you. And it's necessary because an accident is something unexpected that no one can really control or predict when it happens. And it could be from things like a sports injury, it could be a road accident, or even like if you got bitten by a mosquito and you got dengue fever, you need to recuperate. It could also be as simple as spraining your ankle on a rainy day because you were using a phone and not watching where you were going. It could be that you're just crossing the road and following the traffic rules, by the way, when an ass driver then breaks the rules and rams straight into you. Well, guess who's gonna be paying? Certainly not you, because you don't want to have to fork out all of that. But even if you can get the driver to pay for your medical bill, what about the other bills that still need to be paid? What about your loss of income during this period? What if your boss fires you because you were injured and you were hospitalized for a really long time and they needed to find someone else to replace you? So the treatment and recovery costs for these can easily range from several hundreds to a few $1,000s. You do not want to be paying the bill or the consequences of being in an accident. And as someone in your 20s, you probably don't have a lot of those savings to begin with, so the last thing you want is for that to be taken away because of an unexpected accident. The best part, personal accident plans are really affordable, so you should definitely check them out while you still can. Now, the next up is a health insurance, or what we call here in Singapore the integrated shield plan. Now, I know most of us are already covered by default with MediShield Life, but the thing is that is a basic health or hospital insurance that may or may not be enough for every situation, or depending on what your healthcare needs are. This is where upgrading to an integrated shield plan comes in. An integrated shield plan gives you better coverage and gives you the flexibility to potentially go to the private healthcare sector for immediate or faster treatment, or even choose your doctor, compared to going through the public system where you might have to wait quite a few months before you get access to a surgeon or a specialist for your needs. However, the issue with integrated shield plans is that the premium costs are rising because of medical inflation. Getting it in your 20s is actually not that expensive. It gets more pricey later on if you were to wait and delay it. And if any conditions develop during that time, then you could easily get excluded. If you can't afford the highest level, such as private with rider, it's okay to go for another level lower as long as you get yourself protected. And of course, if you think that you really cannot afford an integrated shield plan, or that you're happy with just public hospital treatments and you don't mind the waiting time, then yes, MediShield Life might be enough for you. But you lose the right to complain about the slow waiting times if you're not getting an integrated shield plan. Now, the third one I'm going to be talking about is life insurance. There's a huge debate on whether you should be getting term life or whole life insurance when it comes to this. For the very beginning, you might be thinking, I'm in my 20s, why do I need life insurance? Well, life is unpredictable. And term life insurance can provide financial protection for your loved ones if something were to happen for you. Did you know? The cost of holding a funeral in Singapore could easily hit $10,000. What's more, any bills or loans that you owe do not magically just disappear when you're gone. They go on, and the creditors will come after your family or loved ones. So without having any life insurance, what you're doing is simply to push that financial burden and responsibility to your parents or your siblings or your family members. Are you sure that's something something that you really want to do? Well, if you find that most insurance agents that you meet are pushing you to buy whole life insurance with 4-digit premiums, you should know that that's because they get paid higher commissions if you successfully buy that through them. And they'll tell you the usual sales speech, right? They'll say things like, life insurance covers you for life versus term life insurance, which only covers you for a limited amount of time. Or they might tell you, you have guaranteed coverage throughout with whole life plans, compared to term insurance which renews every year or every 5 or 10 years, and you don't know if you still continue to get protection later on. Why risk it? What's more, to make term life insurance look like the enemy, some agents might even tell you, don't be fooled, term life insurance is actually more expensive compared to whole life when you add up the total premiums that you pay. Or they might emphasize, with term life insurance, you get nothing back. You're paying for nothing. But with whole life insurance, there is a cash value that you can get out of it at the end if you do not claim for it. To make it even more appealing, they might tell you, if you're cash strapped, such as if you lose your job or suddenly you have no money to pay, you can take a premium holiday. But term life insurance will not give you that option. You can't pay the premium, you lose the coverage. Well, all of that is true, but the key thing is, do you really need those benefits and how much are you willing to pay for them? What if I told you that a term life plan costs just a fraction of what you'll be paying on a whole life plan? This difference could be as much as a $300 yearly bill for term life versus a $3,000 bill in your 20s for whole life. And the thing is, most of us who buy term life insurance, we do it to cover our economically viable years, which is years that we are working. We do not pay until we're age 99. So that whole argument about how the total premiums paid with term life insurance is more than whole life, doesn't apply for those of us who buy term life insurance. So while it is true that the total sum of premiums paid in a lifetime is higher for term life insurance, the truth is these fees start to get really expensive in your late 60s or 70s, and by then most of us no longer hold on to our term life policy because we don't need it anymore. Our dependents will have already grown up or are no longer around, and hence that amount of coverage is unnecessary. So if you're having trouble finding an agent who will not sell you whole life insurance, then there are a couple of things that you can do. Either look for a more ethical agent who will do the term life policy for you, or otherwise you could also just DIY and buy it online from the various online insurers or insurance brokers. Now, the fourth insurance policy that you should definitely consider getting is critical illness cover. Now, in your 20s, you probably feel invincible. I know when I was in my 20s, I was just eating supper, not really exercising, and I felt great, right? I could eat without gaining weight. I was hardly sick. I barely went to the doctor, but a lot of that changed as I entered my 30s. And when I speak to people who are older, they also do say they do feel a difference. It's easy to think you do not need critical illness insurance when you're young and healthy, but the stats show otherwise. In many developed nations, critical illnesses such as cancer or heart disease can strike at any age. I have several friends in their 20s or early 30s who have been diagnosed with cancer. And guess what? None of them smoke, and they exercise regularly, they ate fairly healthily. So it was shocking when they got the diagnosis. It was unexpected. But thank goodness they had insurance to cover them in the cost of their treatment. Or consider this recent case of a 26 years old and how she might have felt when what she thought was a headache turned out to be a brain aneurysm, which then led to a stroke. In fact, doctors are saying that they're seeing more and more patients these days get diagnosed in their 20s and 30s as well. So let me reiterate this. Critical illness insurance is probably the most important insurance that you must get for yourself, especially when you're healthy. Now, I know it is not the cheapest insurance plan to get, and there's a reason for that. But the importance of this is because the plan will pay you a lump sum payout if you get diagnosed, which then allows you to focus on the recovery instead of worrying about your bills. Because there are so many different types of insurance plans today that cover for critical illness. I'll make a more detailed video later on to elaborate on this topic, but in the meantime, here's a quick overview. And you can also check out my article on this topic if you're trying to figure out what type of critical illness plan to get. Should you get a cancer cover only, a ECI, a CI plus ECI, a top 3, or should you get a multi-pay? It can get really confusing, so I'll make a video on that shortly. Finally, the 5th insurance plan on this list is that of disability insurance. Now I know it may sound like a pretty far-fetched idea, right? Because the disability insurance is one that pays you if you're disabled or no longer able to work, okay? But this is important because the payout can replace a part of your income if you're unable to work in your occupation because of a disability and help you through that transition as you move on to another line of work. Now, this is actually more real than you think. Singaporean actress Janice Koh, for instance, recently shared about her battle with tongue cancer, which led her to lose more than half of her tongue. This has hindered her speech clarity, and she has shared openly about how she doubts she'll be able to get back in front of the camera and continue her acting career like before. In your 20s, you don't have a lot of income yet. You're still building your career, you don't have much financial cushion, so losing your income could be detrimental. You want to look at having disability income, which could give you financial stability and reassurance while you recover and figure out how to adjust to a new normal. So here's a quick recap of the 5 types that we covered: a personal accident plan, a hospitalisation plan, a term life insurance, critical illness, as well as a disability income replacement. I also recently uploaded a video on my Instagram as well as my TikTok where I talk about insurance plans for Gen Zs and how you can get all of these covered for less than just $100 a month. Are there any other plans that you think should be included in the mix? Or which ones would you like me to elaborate in subsequent video? Let me know in the comment below and I might just make a video on that topic. Till then, see you in the next video. Bye!